For most people, space seems like a distant and inaccessible realm. However, sometimes its fragments can be found right here on our own planet. In this video, I invite you to get acquainted with the most mysterious objects of extraterrestrial origin. Enjoy watching. In 1974, two Puerto Rican astronomers, Carl Sagan and Frank Drake, decided to send a radio signal into space with an encrypted message. The constellation Hercules was chosen as the recipient. The radio signal contained 1,679 digits and lasted a total of 169 seconds. In their signal, the scientists included information about Earth's biochemical elements, data on human DNA structure, and the average height and weight of humans. To decrypt this message, extraterrestrials would need to arrange the numbers in a specific sequence. 40 years have passed since then, but no response to the radio signal has been received. Perhaps the scientists were mistaken, and there are no habitable planets in the constellation Hercules. Or maybe the extraterrestrials received the signal but did not understand its meaning. Arguably, the most famous feature of Easter Island is the Moai statues. Moai are large monolithic statues that depict human figures. Currently, there are 887 Moai on the island. Historians believe the Moai were created by the indigenous Rapa Nui people between 1200 and 1500 AD. The first to describe these statues was the famous explorer James Cook. Most Moai are made from andesitic basalt, which was quarried from the Rano Raraku volcano. On average, these statues stand 5 meters tall and weigh no more than 5 tons. The largest among them stands just under 10 meters tall. To this day, the true purpose of these statues remains unknown. Local residents believe these stone giants were built by chieftains and contain the power of their ancestors, which helps keep the island fragrant and fertile. However, the details of the legend constantly change among the locals. It also remains a mystery how such massive stones were transported to their construction sites. Scientists speculate that primitive tools were used for this purpose, allowing the lifting of massive rocks, as well as animals. Pumapunku is a megalithic ritual complex located at an altitude of over 4,000 meters in Bolivia. Archaeologists long believed that Pumapunku was built by the Aymara people in the 6th century AD. However, recent research using radiocarbon dating showed that some elements of the complex date back to 1500 years BC. If the construction of the complex indeed began more than 3,500 years ago, this discovery could be called a sensation in archaeology. In studying the ruins of the complex, scientists have been able to determine what the complex looked like in ancient times. Pumapunku was a group of structures on a hill, surrounded by stone masonry. Two types of stones were used in the construction: red sandstone and andesite. The sandstone was sourced from a quarry located 10 kilometers from the construction site, while the andesite had to be transported from a distance of about 90 kilometers. Of course, there was no machinery for these purposes at the time, so it remains unknown how people managed to move stones weighing several hundred tons over such distances. It is also surprising that all the stones were specially processed so they could be laid without the use of mortar. Again, ancient builders managed this task without the tools we have today. It's hard to believe that ancient people could build such a complex by hand, so such structures are often associated with extraterrestrial civilizations. In the vicinity of the ancient city of Cusco in Peru, at an altitude of about 3,500 meters above sea level, lies the fortress of Sacsayhuaman. This archaeological site is known for its zigzagging walls that extend over 300 meters. Officially, it is believed that the construction of the fortress lasted from 1438 to 1508 AD, involving over 30,000 people. The fortress was built by the Incas to protect their capital from invaders. However, some historians believe that Sacsayhuaman was built much earlier, possibly not by the Incas but by other civilizations. The fortress walls are made from gigantic stones, the largest of which is estimated to weigh 350 tons. Imagine the difficulty of transporting these boulders from quarries and then placing them atop each other. Furthermore, the stones are laid in a polygonal masonry without mortar with perfect precision, so not even a piece of paper can fit between two stones. This structure is impressive in its uniqueness. It is hard to believe that people living in the 15th century could build a fortress from giant stones without the use of special technology in just 70 years. Umam Mua is the first interstellar object detected passing through the solar system. It was discovered on October 19, 2017, by Canadian astronomer Robert Warwick using data from the Hawaiian Pan-STARRS telescope. Initially, the object was identified as a comet, but it was later reclassified as an asteroid. However, this definition raised many questions, as Umam Mua did not possess the characteristics and properties of asteroids. Unlike other asteroids, Umam Mua had a very elongated, cigar-like shape. It was about 400 meters long and 40 meters wide. Moreover, as it moved, it changed its brightness several times, which is uncharacteristic of asteroids. Umam Mua's trajectory also differed from other observed celestial objects. Astronomers noticed that it was not moving along a ballistic trajectory but a hyperbolic one. Every 7 Earth hours, this object made a rotation around its axis. But most interestingly, Umam Mua constantly changed its speed. It slowed down and then accelerated as if equipped with a jet engine, and sometimes hovered in one place. Of course, such properties of a celestial object were strange. Ufologists speculated that Umam Mua could be an alien spacecraft, but scientists completely refute this theory. Fuente Magna, also known as the American Rosetta Stone, is a large ceramic vessel adorned with drawings and inscriptions in 2 unknown languages. To this day, this bowl remains a subject of debate among scientists and ufologists, as its origin is unknown, and the text it is adorned with remains undeciphered. It is believed that the vessel was discovered in the vicinity of the Bolivian megalithic ritual complex Pumapunku in the 1950s, by a local resident named Maximiliano, who thought it was a common vessel someone had discarded and used it to feed pigs. In the 1960s, the bowl came into the possession of Pastor Manhun and was later transferred to the ownership of the municipality of La Paz. For a long time, this artifact did not attract any interest, but in the 2000s, 2 Bolivian researchers, Bernardo Biados Yacovazzo and Freddy Arce, took an interest in studying it. They speculated that the text on the bowl could be deciphered, and therefore sought help from Dr. Clyde Winters, a proponent of Afrocentric historical revisionism. After studying the text, Winters suggested that it was written in the Sumerian language. However, linguists specializing in this ancient language refuted Winters' hypothesis, leaving the text undeciphered. The bowl is currently kept in the Museum of Precious Metals in La Paz, but the mystery of its origin and purpose remains unsolved. On the night of August 15, 1977, Dr. Jerry Amon was concluding his work at the Big Ear Radio Telescope in Ohio when he noticed the telescope had recorded a strong narrowband cosmic radio signal. The signal was incredibly powerful and lasted for 72 seconds. Glancing at the telescope's printout, Amon was astonished. He circled the signal's symbols and wrote "Wow" next to them, giving the radio signal its unusual name. It was later determined that the recorded signal originated from the constellation Sagittarius. Scientists have awaited its repetition for a long time, but it has not occurred to this day. Conspiracy theorists claimed that Amon had captured a signal from extraterrestrial civilizations. While nothing similar had been observed in astronomy, the likelihood that it originated from aliens is extremely low. Scientists explain that transmitting such a powerful radio signal over such a distance would require more than a 2-gigawatt transmitter. For comparison, the power of the HARP system is 3.6 megawatts. The official version today is that the WOW signal came from the hydrogen clouds of 2 comets at a frequency of 1,420 megahertz. In the early 20th century, archaeologists in the southern part of Iraq discovered unusual clay statuettes. These figurines depicted women with slender bodies and significantly elongated heads. The faces on the statuettes were very peculiar, narrow, yet with enormous eyes and a nose connected directly to a mouth without lips. These faces were far from human-like and resembled reptiles. Some statuettes depicted nursing women holding infants with similarly elongated heads and unusual facial features. All male figurines also had a strange appearance and depicted a uniform pose with crossed arms over the chest. Scientists have determined that the statuettes were made over 7,000 years ago. They believed the figurines depicted various deities worshipped by the ancient inhabitants of Mesopotamia. However, ufologists found certain similarities between these artifacts and the extraterrestrial reptilian race, claiming that ancient humans had contact with these aliens and considered them deities. Science refutes this theory, as the later Sumerian civilization depicted the goddess Namu in a similar manner. Likely the inhabitants of the ancient city of Ur envisioned their gods as such unusual humanoid beings. Dogu are small clay figurines depicting humans and animals, crafted during the Jomon period. The Jomon period in Japan lasted from 13,000 to 300 BC. Archaeologists have long been finding Dogu in various parts of Japan. A total of about 15,000 such figurines have been discovered. The oldest of them were made about 10,000 years ago. But what is so remarkable about these clay figures? Despite their prevalence, scientists still do not know who exactly made them and for what purpose. Scientists believe that these figurines were made as talismans for children. Most Dogu have a female body, with round hips and a slender waist. Some Dogu depict pregnant women. Among these figurines, there are specimens with a rather strange appearance, with large heads and huge eyes. Ufologists suggest that the culture of making these figurines arose after ancient humans came into contact with extraterrestrial civilizations, which taught them the art of working with clay. As you can see, the purpose of the Dogu is very controversial, so they continue to remain on the list of the most mysterious artifacts of antiquity. In 1974, a severe fire occurred on the Betts family property located on Fort George Island, Florida. After extinguishing the fire, the Betts family discovered a strange metallic sphere resembling a cannonball. The sphere had a perfectly smooth and even surface. Its diameter was just over 20 centimeters, and it weighed 10 kilograms. The Betts family decided to take their find home. A few days later, the family noticed strange phenomena occurring with the sphere. The object reacted to sound. When the children played the guitar or piano, the sphere emitted an unpleasant hum and vibrated. Moreover, when the sphere was rolled on the floor, it could change its direction of movement to the opposite. The highest anomalous activity of the object was observed during sunny weather. News of the strange find quickly reached the media. The sphere was then associated with extraterrestrial civilizations. Scientists were also interested in studying this phenomenon, but the Betts couple categorically forbade any manipulation of their property. However, they later agreed to lend the sphere for research to specialists at the naval base in Jacksonville. X-ray imaging revealed that the object was a hollow sphere with unknown contents inside. The sphere was made of stainless steel, and its construction was very precisely balanced. No radiation was detected from the object, but it could resonate, explaining the strange vibrations and hum. In the end, scientists concluded that the sphere was made on Earth, but when and who made it remained a mystery. The Swedish company Ocean X specializes in the search for underwater treasures. In June 2011, company specialists were working on the search for a sunken ship in the Bothnian Bay of the Baltic Sea. However, instead of a ship, at a depth of 87 meters, they discovered a very strange object. A blurry sonar image was obtained, showing a circular object about 60 meters in diameter. It was named the Baltic Anomaly. The object in the photograph did not resemble a natural formation. It had a regular geometric shape and several smooth protrusions. The Baltic Anomaly strongly resembled a spacecraft. Moreover, a 300-meter trail near the object looked like a landing track. Undoubtedly, the Baltic Anomaly became a highly discussed discovery. There were many hypotheses about what it could be. Among them were speculations about an alien ship, a secret submarine, and even ruins of Atlantis. Scientists were skeptical of all these versions. They are convinced that the Baltic Anomaly was formed by basaltic rock that traveled with a glacier, and when it melted, it ended up at the bottom of the Bothnian Bay. The story of an artificial Earth satellite known as the Black Knight began in the late 19th century. In 1899, during his experiments in Colorado Springs, the renowned physicist and inventor Nikola Tesla noticed a strange radio signal coming from deep space. Tesla thought it was sent by aliens. It is worth noting that this scientist believed in the existence of extraterrestrial civilizations. Tesla was not the only person to capture strange signals. In 1928, Jürgen Hals was engaged in transmitting radio signals from his home. One day, he noticed that the radio signals were returning. 50 years later, this unusual phenomenon caught the attention of the Scot Duncan Lunan. He suggested that the source of the signals might be an unknown object orbiting Earth, estimated to be about 13,000 years old. In 1998, during the STS-88 mission from the Endeavour shuttle, images of an unidentified object in low Earth orbit were captured. Following this news, ufologists speculated that the photograph depicted the Black Knight. However, scientists reported that this object was a space blanket, not an artificial satellite sent by aliens to spy on humans. Ancient Egypt is considered one of the main civilizations associated with extraterrestrial races. And if you still doubt this, here is another piece of evidence. In 1922, near the Egyptian city of Luxor, British archaeologist Howard Carter discovered the tomb of the famous Egyptian pharaoh Tutankhamun. Entering the tomb, Carter found a sarcophagus with the ruler's mummy and many treasures, among which was an unusual dagger. Despite being over 3,300 years old, the dagger was in excellent condition. It had a gold-plated handle with ornamentation and a distinctive finish that was difficult to associate with the ancient world's era. For a long time, the dagger was the subject of scientific research. In 2016, specialists were able to study the chemical composition of the weapon using an X-ray fluorescence spectrometer. The results of this study showed that the dagger was made from a material of extraterrestrial origin. Scientists believe that a meteorite was used to manufacture the weapon. Whether Tutankhamun knew that the blade of his dagger was of extraterrestrial origin is unknown. However, it is possible that during his reign, people were already aware of celestial objects periodically falling to Earth. In 1996, in the vicinity of Mount Byong in China, scientists discovered a peculiar find resembling metal pipes ranging from 2 to 40 centimeters in diameter. These pipes emerged from rock formations and resembled a plumbing system. Naturally, scientists were intrigued by this strange object and commenced its investigation. After various dating methods, experts managed to determine that the pipes were about 5,000 years old. Chemical analysis of the find revealed that the object was primarily made of iron oxide with high inclusions of silicon dioxide and calcium oxide. However, how pipes, 5,000 years old, could have been made from iron remained a mystery. Information about the Byong pipes remained classified for 6 years. But as soon as scientists spoke about this find, media reports emerged suggesting the involvement of extraterrestrial intelligences in the pipe's construction. Surprisingly, local authorities took advantage of this situation and began attracting tourists to the sites of the extraterrestrial objects. Years later, with the aid of modern scientific instruments, it was established that the Byong pipes had no connection to aliens. It turns out that thousands of years ago, trees grew at this location. Over time, they were buried by sedimentary rocks. Water enriched with iron penetrated the space between the trees and the rock, forming an iron casing. Thousands of years later, the trees were gone, but this casing remained inside the rock formation. The Byong pipes are a prime example of how unpredictable and amazing nature can be on our planet. The Roswell incident is one of the most famous stories related to UFOs. On the night of July 4, 1947, Mac Brazel, a farmer from Roswell, New Mexico, heard strange sounds outside, resembling thunder, and noticed a bright flash. He thought it was a storm and went to bed calmly. The next morning, he went to look for his sheep and found debris of unknown origin in a field. Initially, he thought they belonged to some kind of aircraft, as there was an Air Force range near his farm, and he had found such debris before. But upon examining his find, he realized he had found something strange. Therefore, the man decided to report it to the local sheriff, who in turn informed the military. Air Force Colonel William Blanchard arrived at the scene. After examining the suspicious object, he declared that the debris belonged to one of the flying discs that had been observed by the Air Force Base. It seemed like direct confirmation of the existence of alien spacecraft. However, the day after Blanchard's statement, General Roger Ramey became interested in the debris. After personally inspecting the object, he published his statement in the local newspapers, but this time, he completely refuted Blanchard's message. According to him, a weather balloon had crashed near Roswell. This explanation caused a lot of controversy. Admittedly, it is quite strange that initially Blanchard reported on observed flying discs of unknown origin, and then, as if trying to correct the colonel's mistake, General Ramey reassured the public with his statement. Ufologists still believe that this incident is not only evidence of the existence of aliens, but also that the authorities are carefully hiding this fact from us. The endless snows and ice of Antarctica conceal many interesting and mysterious objects. For this reason, scientists regularly embark on expeditions to the realm of perpetual frost. In 1984, researchers in the Allen Hills Mountains discovered a meteorite weighing just under 2 kilograms. Scientists believe it to be one of the 34 Martian meteorites found on Earth. It likely broke off from the surface of Mars after a collision with a large celestial body more than 4 billion years ago. For a long time afterward, it remained on Mars. But about 15 million years ago, it was ejected into space and then, 13,000 years ago, fell to Earth. This assumption was based on numerous studies of the meteorite, including various dating methods. In 1996, NASA scientists shared shocking news about the study of the meteorite. When scanning its structures with a scanning electron microscope, they discovered fossils resembling traces of so-called magnetotactic bacteria. This discovery meant that life existed or still exists on Mars. However, scientists also suggested that the fossils could have formed after the meteorite landed on Earth. In 1974, a group of workers discovered ancient remains of mastodons, which lived on our planet over 11,000 years ago, at the bottom of the Mureș River in Romania. Among the bones, an unusual object was also found. People did not understand what it was and decided to hand over their find to the Cluj-Napoca Institute. Scientists became interested in the strange object and began its examination. Initially, experts measured the object, named the AIUD wedge, which was 20.2 centimeters long, 12.5 centimeters wide, and 7 centimeters high. Then, scientists began studying the composition of the object. The wedge was made from a very complex alloy, including about 12 different elements, with aluminum being the major component. The thickness of the oxide film covering the wedge was 1 millimeter. This led scientists to suggest that the mysterious object was at least 300 years old. But how is this possible if aluminum was first isolated by Danish physicist Hans Christian Ørsted in 1825? Furthermore, the wedge was found alongside ancient mastodon remains, suggesting that its age could be thousands of years. Of course, such an unusual object piqued the interest of ufologists. They speculated that the wedge was of extraterrestrial origin. Surprisingly, renowned aerospace engineers agreed, affirming that the object could be part of the landing gear of a spacecraft. The aluminum wedge is sometimes also referred to as an out-of-place artifact, as scientists are still unable to accurately determine its age and purpose. In 1998, the two skulls came into the hands of midwife Melanie Young. She became interested in the unusual shape of one of them and handed it over to the paranormal researcher and writer Lloyd Pye. Pye, after examining the skull, concluded that the remains belonged to a hybrid child. He speculated that this child was born to a human woman from an alien. Pye organized a project called Star Child, aimed at investigating the skull. The project determined that the skull dated back to the 12th century AD and belonged to a boy who died at the age of 5. While there seemed to be nothing unusual about this, the structure of the skull still continued to amaze. Pye dedicated many years to the study of the Star Child, consistently claiming that the skull belonged to a mutant. He questioned any refutations of his theory, even DNA analyses that confirmed the child was a regular human but with a large number of genetic diseases that affected the deformation of his skull. The Star Child's skull has caused much controversy. Some people continue to believe that scientists are hiding the true origin of this boy. In 1912, American book dealer Wilfrid Voynich purchased an astonishing manuscript from Italian monks. It contained text written in an unknown language, as well as many illustrations. The Voynich manuscript consists of 248 pages, measuring 22.5 by 16 centimeters, and is divided into several sections: botanical, astronomical, biological, astrological, pharmaceutical, and recipe. Each entry is accompanied by an illustration. The drawings depict objects that do not exist on Earth. For example, the pharmaceutical section contains illustrations of unknown medicinal plants, and the astronomical section contains images of planets unknown to science. The author of the book also remains unknown. However, in 2009, scientists were able to determine that the manuscript was written in the 14th century. For a long time, specialists have been trying to decipher the text of the manuscript, but to this day, no one has succeeded. For this reason, the Voynich manuscript is associated with extraterrestrial civilizations. Perhaps it tells the story of life on an unknown planet. But all these hypotheses lack evidence. Now you understand why the Voynich manuscript is considered one of the most mysterious manuscripts in the world. In the 1930s, a young American woman discovered two skulls in a Mexican cave. One of them had a strange, overly rounded shape. The girl took her find back to the USA and decided not to tell anyone about it. The dropa stones are a mysterious artifact, proving the existence of an extraterrestrial race called dropa. However, skeptics are convinced that the entire story associated with them was just another hoax. It is believed that during the exploration of caves in the Byong Mountains in 1938, archaeologists led by Professor Chi-Pu Tay of Peking University discovered an ancient burial site. There they found a large number of humanoid skeletons and 716 strange discs with a hole in the center. Their age was estimated to be 12,000 years old. These discs also had unknown hieroglyphs inscribed on them, which were deciphered several years after the archaeological discovery by Professor Umam Mua of Peking University. According to him, the hieroglyphs told the story of an ancient extraterrestrial civilization named Dropa. These beings accidentally ended up on our planet after their spaceship crashed. They were not against befriending humans, but the local inhabitants did not want this and began to kill the Dropa. This story shocked the public, but the existence of the dropa stones was doubted. It was believed that they were stored in Peking University for a long time, but when scientists asked to see them, the discs suddenly disappeared. Moreover, there were never any university staff members named Chi-Pu Tay and Umam Mua. Therefore, the dropa stones are recognized only as a hoax. This photograph was taken by a passenger on a flight from the USA to New Zealand in 2015. Admittedly, the object in the picture looks very strange. It could be mistaken for a cloud, but its shape is not typical for clouds. This anomaly more closely resembles a giant jellyfish, but jellyfish don't fly in the sky. Surprisingly, the person who took the picture was not the only one who saw this unidentified object. Other passengers were also amazed by the view from their windows. They all tried to take pictures of it, but their cameras and phones stopped working, as if some unknown forces were interfering. Only the photographer managed to capture this anomaly by some miracle. But what was it? Unfortunately, no one can answer this question. And that's all from me. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. Your engagement is the best reward for me. Thank you for your attention. See you soon. Goodbye.